traditionally markets, at least in the US, right, there've always been some geopolitical and political conditions, right? There's been well-known studies of how markets traditionally behave around the US election cycle. So this is like a well-known topic of macroeconomic and sort of political economic study. I think we have that in place, but now much more acute drivers that are sort of amplifying the interdependency between market cycles and political cycles and geopolitical cycles. And they all seem to be converging at the same time in sort of upswings and downswings, right? And so you look at the kind of incentives and constraints of people that control, major drivers of the national monetary and economic system. And you realize that like they're kind of shifting structurally in a direction which is one, like more fiscal dominance, as Lynn Alden has pointed at, right? Nothing stopped this train in terms of the amount of debt that we have to continue to service at high interest rates. And that just imposes a boundary constraint on all national leadership, Congress, the White House, Treasury Secretary Bessent. It's the thing they have to manage. They have to keep interest costs serviceable. They have to try to find new buyers of debt. They have to issue more at the short end. That is in general more supportive for liquidity. Then you have Trump, who has wants to win midterms next year, and you have Vice President Vance, which may want to run and win in 2028. And they also are going up against a technology cycle, which is going to potentially lead to increasing economic displacement, which could, again, like net require larger outlays for unemployment insurance, et cetera. So all of these things are also happening in the landscape of like U.S.-China competition, where we have to spend more to reshore, to essentially do more like what you might call like hybrid capitalism, right? Taking more structural investment stakes in national champions like Intel. And the government just playing a larger role in the economy to steer towards strategic purposes as well as political purposes. And crypto is subject to all of that for on multiple dimensions, right? Like one is just a first order liquidity gauge. There's more fiscal spending, there's more debt issuance, so there's more liquidity in the system. Bitcoin tends to go up. The large digital assets ecosystem tends to respond positively. Then you have Trump's personal and like related family enterprises that are very much long Bitcoin and getting longer Bitcoin like as we speak. And so there's a political incentive for crypto markets to continue to appreciate. And crypto as an industry has like thrown its political muscle around. And so we're entering into a 2026 election cycle where there's going to be more potential super PACs raising money and deploying that into elections. And so all of these things like structurally mean that like the more asset prices go up, right, the more the tax receipts the government has to service its debt, the more political campaign contributions can flow in, or the more we can attract capital that would otherwise be sort of scared off by more kind of state interventionism in the U.S. Sort of quote free markets, and the more that we can deploy kind of the surpluses from that asset appreciation into strategic projects that are necessary to maintain national security and economic advantage, over China.